There are some truths we spend our entire lives running from, and then, one day, they find us. I was 28 years old when I discovered who my father really was. Not the man I thought I knew, not the cold, distant figure who disappeared into his study every night, not the father who missed my graduation, my birthdays, my tears. The real him. The truth was hidden inside a dusty cassette tape, forgotten in a cardboard box, buried under years of resentment and silence. And when I pressed play, everything I believed shattered. My name is Arian, and this is the story of how I hated my father for 15 years, until one recording changed everything. I grew up in a small apartment in Pune. 3 rooms, 1 balcony, and a father who barely spoke. My mother died when I was 7, cancer. It happened fast. One day she was braiding my hair, singing old songs. The next month, she was gone. After that, my father became a ghost. He worked at a government office. Every morning he left at 7 a.m. Every evening he returned at 9 p.m. He ate dinner alone. He sat in his study, door closed, light dim. He never asked about my day. He never asked about anything. I grew up with my grandmother, my mother's mother. She raised me. She cooked. She cried with me. She held me when I missed my mom. But my father, he was just there, a shadow in the corner of my life. I used to think maybe he didn't love me. Maybe I reminded him too much of her. Maybe he blamed me for her death, even though it made no sense. I wanted to ask him, but I was scared. Scared of his silence, scared of the distance in his eyes. So I stopped trying. By the time I turned 13, I had built a wall between us. I stopped waiting for him at dinner. I stopped showing him my report cards. I stopped expecting anything. And he never reached out either. We lived in the same house, but we were strangers. When I turned 18, I left for college in Mumbai. I didn't look back. I didn't call much. I sent short texts on festivals. He replied with even shorter ones. Okay, take care. Good. That was it. I told myself I didn't need him. I told myself I had moved on. But deep down, I was angry. So angry. Why didn't he fight for me? Why didn't he try? Why didn't he love me the way a father should? Years passed. I got a job. I got an apartment. I built a life. And then my grandmother passed away. She was 82. It was peaceful, they said, in her sleep. But for me, it felt like losing my mother all over again. I came back to Pune for the funeral. My father was there, of course, quiet, stiff, his face unreadable. We didn't talk much, just a few words about arrangements, rituals, relatives. After the funeral, I stayed for a week to help clear out my grandmother's things. My father didn't help. He sat in his study, door closed, like always. One afternoon, while sorting through old cupboards, I found a cardboard box. It was taped shut, dusty, heavy. I opened it. Inside were old photographs, letters, my mother's jewelry, her saris, neatly folded, and at the bottom, a cassette tape. It was labeled in my father's handwriting, "For Arian, when he's ready." My heart stopped. I stared at that tape for a long time. My hands were shaking. Why would he leave me a recording? And why now? Why not give it to me directly? I looked toward his study. The door was closed, as always. Part of me wanted to march in there and demand answers, but another part was terrified. What if this tape was an apology I didn't want to hear? What if it was an excuse? What if it made me even angrier? I almost put it back in the box, but I didn't. I went to my old room. I dug out an old cassette player from the cupboard, something my grandmother had kept. I plugged it in, slid the tape inside, and I pressed play. For a few seconds, there was only static. And then, his voice. My father's voice. But it sounded different, softer, broken. Arian, if you're listening to this, it means I'm gone. Or maybe I finally found the courage to give this to you. Either way, I'm sorry. I froze. I know I wasn't the father you deserved. I know I was distant, cold, silent, and I know you must hate me for it. My throat tightened. But I need you to know the truth. I need you to understand why I became the man I am. He paused. I could hear him breathing, shakily. After your mother died, I broke. Completely. I didn't know how to live anymore. She was everything to me, Aryan. My best friend, my partner, my reason for waking up. His voice cracked. When she was gone, I couldn't even look at you without seeing her. Your eyes, your smile, your laugh. It was like she was still there, but not really, and it killed me. Tears blurred my vision. I was scared, Beta. Scared that if I got too close to you, I'd lose you too. Scared that I'd fail you the way I felt I failed her. So I pulled away. I thought distance would protect me. Protect you. I wiped my face. My chest hurt. But I never stopped loving you. Not for a single second. And then he said something that broke me. Every night, after you went to sleep, I used to sit outside your room, just listening to you breathe, making sure you were okay. I did that for years. I couldn't breathe. I'm so sorry I couldn't show you. I'm so sorry I let fear control me. I'm so sorry I made you feel unloved. The tape clicked. Static. And then, silence. I sat there, stunned. All this time he was outside my door, listening, caring. I thought back to those nights, the nights I cried myself to sleep, the nights I felt so alone, and he was there. But then, why didn't he come in? Why didn't he hold me? Why didn't he just be a father? Anger flared up again. This wasn't enough. A tape wasn't enough. I needed answers, real ones. I stormed out of my room and went straight to his study. I didn't knock, I just opened the door. He was sitting at his desk, staring at an old photograph. It was a picture of my mother. He looked up, surprised. Aryan, why didn't you give me this tape earlier? I demanded. My voice shook. Why didn't you just talk to me? He blinked, confused. What tape? I held it up. His face went pale. You found it. Yes, I found it, and I listened to it, and I still don't understand. You say you loved me, but you left me alone for years. He stood up slowly. His hands trembled. Aryan, I thought I had more time. I thought I'd give it to you when you were older, when you'd understand. Understand what? I shouted. That you were too scared to be my father? He flinched. Yes, he whispered. Yes, that's exactly it. We stood there, staring at each other, and for the first time in 15 years, I saw tears in his eyes. My father sat back down. His shoulders slumped. After your mother died, he said quietly, I couldn't function. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror. He rubbed his face. I wanted to die, Aryan. Every single day, I wanted to die. I felt a chill, but I couldn't because of you. You were 7 years old. You needed me, and I was a mess. He looked at me. Your grandmother saved us. She took over. She raised you. She gave you the love I couldn't. And I buried myself in work, in routine, in silence. Because if I felt anything, if I let myself feel, I knew I'd collapse. His voice broke. I'm not making excuses. I'm just telling you the truth. I sank into a chair. Do you know what it's like? I said slowly. To grow up thinking your father doesn't care? To watch other kids with their dads and wonder what's wrong with you? He closed his eyes. I do, because I lived it too. I looked up. My father, he said, was exactly like me, distant, cold, silent. He died when I was 16, and I never got to ask him why. I never got to tell him how much I needed him. He opened his eyes, and I promised myself I'd never be like him. But I became exactly like him, because pain has a way of repeating itself. I didn't know what to say. I don't expect you to forgive me, he said. I needed you to know. I loved you. I always loved you. I just didn't know how to show it. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying his words, his tears, his brokenness. Part of me was still angry, still hurt, but another part finally understood. He wasn't a villain. He was just human, flawed, scared. The next morning, I went back to his study. He was sitting in the same spot. I sat down across from him. I listened to the rest of the tape, I said. He looked up, confused. There's more? I shook my head. No, I meant I listened to what you said yesterday. Really listened. He waited. I'm still hurt, I said. I'm still angry, but I don't want to waste more years hating you. His eyes filled with tears. Can we start over? I asked. Not forget, but try? He nodded, slowly. I'd like that, he whispered. Over the next few months, we talked, really talked. He told me stories about my mother, about how they met, how she made him laugh, how she believed in him when no one else did. He told me about his regrets, his fears, his guilt. And I told him about mine, about how I felt abandoned, how I built walls, how I was scared of becoming like him. It wasn't easy. There were arguments, tears, silence. But slowly, something shifted. We started having dinner together. He started asking about my life. I started sharing. One evening, he asked if I wanted to go through my mother's things together. We sat on the floor, going through old letters, photos, jewelry, and then he pulled out a notebook. He wrote this, he said, when she was sick. I opened it. Inside were letters, to me, to him. The last one was addressed to both of us. My two loves, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and I know it's going to be hard, but please don't let grief destroy you. Don't let it pull you apart. Aryan, your father loves you more than life itself. He's just scared. Be patient with him. And my love, don't hide from our son. He needs you, and you need him. You're both stronger than you think. We sat there, crying, and for the first time in 15 years, we hugged. It's been 2 years since that day. My father and I talk every week now, sometimes more. He's still quiet, still a little distant, but now I understand that's just who he is. And he's trying, really trying. Last month, he came to visit me in Mumbai. We went to a cricket match, we ate pav bhaji, we laughed. It felt normal, beautiful. I realized something important. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means understanding. My father wasn't perfect, but he was trying his best with the tools he had. And sometimes that's enough. There are some truths we spend our entire lives running from, and then one day they find us. I spent 15 years hating my father, building walls, carrying resentment. But that tape, that one forgotten tape, changed everything. It taught me that people are more than their mistakes, that pain can make us do things we regret, that love doesn't always look the way we expect. If you're holding on to anger towards someone, maybe it's time to listen, really listen, not to justify, not to forget, but to understand. Because sometimes the people who hurt us are the ones who are hurting the most. And sometimes all they need is a second chance. My name is Aryan, and this is my story. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Rare, where we bring you real stories, real emotions, and real lessons. Because some stories, they stay with you forever.